welcome to the July meeting in August of the Library Marketing Book Club. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks for being open to rescheduling. Glad some of you could make it. That maybe this is a time that some of you could make it that couldn't make it other times. You can always look at that and see how things go with times of the meeting. So this month we read The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Just a few days ago, I had emailed him to see if he would join us. And I didn't receive anything from him until I think the day after the original meeting was scheduled. And he just said, that he got the message. He apologized. He was really busy. I told him, well, we're rescheduling it, but he didn't bite on that. So that's fine. So this is pretty popular book. Certainly, New York Times bestseller, of course, but one that has been around for a little bit and has a lot to say about behavior, about personal behavior and habits and habit forming and habit changing. Also, I think definitely some applications. There's certainly some stories about marketing and some applications about marketing. So curious, what did anybody think about the book?
I guess I'll pop in.
Thanks,
I liked the book. I thought it was applicable not only to work but also personal life. So I really liked that kind of intersection. This is really useful, and thought there were some really great anecdotes throughout the book, and just thought it was really, really readable.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you read the hard copy or ebook or listened?
I think I had an ebook. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, wait, what did I have?
That's very good. Yeah, it definitely is. It is a neat one because it does have a lot of cross applications. And we can talk about that a little bit too. Anybody else have any just sort of initial thoughts about the book? Oh, you're muted right now, Leslie. Sorry, but there you go.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you guys. This is my first time attending the book club.
Great.
And happy to be here. I have not had a chance to finish the book. I'm only about 85 pages in, but what I have read, I really enjoyed, except all of the stuff about the football coach, because football is not really my thing. And I'm not sure if I was reading the right version of the book. I have the hard copy, The Power of Habit. My library had a few different editions, so this was the one that was available.
Yep.
But I was really interested. I didn't get into the part about changing habits for your organization, which I feel like is going to be the real payout for us. Yeah. But I thought the first 85 pages were really interesting about the habit loop and changing personal habits. My mom has been trying to quit smoking for decades, and she has never successfully been able to do it. And so I'm really interested to see if there's something in here that I will learn that I can use to help support her on that.
Yeah. It comes up throughout the book. Smoking being one of those very difficult habits to break because it has those the cues and the rewards for everybody that it's hard to get rid of that. And it's pretty interesting, but yeah, good. Yeah. The opening is definitely got a lot of very useful things to set up a lot of the rest of the book. But yeah, I found, that's great. Leslie. Thanks. Glad you're joining us. Thank you. Anybody else? Beth, Kirsten, Ashley? I don't know if you're not able to be on camera today, and that's okay. We'd love to see you, but if you have any feedback, would love to hear that. Oh, didn't get around to reading it. Always okay. It still can be a good conversation. We'll still talk a lot about things that I think can be applicable, but yeah, it's good. And I did send out, if you get the emails, I did send out some shortcut things and some summaries and some other things that are useful, I think, in kind of getting you there. So yeah, that's great. So a couple things, yeah, from the book. So in the, yeah, and Leslie, this would be in the part. Yeah, that's okay, Beth. Yeah, no, it's great. They talk about Pepsodent and they talk about Febreze. Have you been through those parts yet? Yeah, because the Tony Dungy stuff doesn't come up till a little bit later. But yeah, that to me has always been one of the most interesting parts of this book, especially the Febreze, the whole story about Febreze and how it went through. And so, thinking about that, if you didn't have a chance to read it, here's what the basic story is, as I recall. So Pepsodent was a product that people wanted to have somebody market. There was this person who was a amazing marketer, sometimes using claims that weren't exactly true for some things, but those kind of ads worked really well. And so they wanted him to advertise Pepsodent, the toothpaste, because the toothpaste market was really small. People were not brushing their teeth in the US. It wasn't a common thing. I think there was something like toothpaste was in like 6% of cabinets. And it wasn't a big thing. So the first thing that he did was he came up with this thing where if you run your tongue over your teeth, you'll feel a film. And the getting rid of the film was supposed to make your teeth dingy, and getting rid of the film gives you like bright smiles. So that was kind of the first breakthrough, was giving people something that they wanted. They wanted white teeth. So give them that brush for that smile. And what he didn't realize, it worked really well, and the toothpaste sold crazy, and then it was something like 65% or more of households had it. And one of the big problems during that time was World War II. Soldiers were not brushing their teeth. And then but then what they didn't realize was that there was something else there. And so Febreze came along, and Febreze, I'm guessing you all know Febreze, the deodorizing spray. I don't know if that's exactly what they call it, but the fresh scent spray that they use to get rid of odors. So that came along. And when they were first marketing it, they were just trying to market to people who were trying to cover up bad smells. But they realized that it wasn't just about covering up the smells, because once people covered up the smells, they kind of forgot about the product, and they figured, oh yeah, it worked and it was over, and that was it. And they didn't need it anymore. And even, a few people might have still needed it. There's a really interesting story, I thought, about a young woman who was a park ranger or a animal control person who always had skunk smell. And this like kind of gave her the hope that she someday could not smell like skunk and actually meet people. But then so what they didn't realize was that there's some other part of this cue routine reward loop that they didn't know what it was that was going to keep people using it, until they found somebody who talked about it being like they use it to kind of signify finishing cleaning. So when they would clean their bedroom, they would spray it, and that was like, okay, now this room is done. And at that time, the Febreze didn't really have any scent. So then they added like this light, fresh scent. And that was the thing that actually caused people to then associate that scent with the reward of finishing the cleaning job or whatever it was. And if you go back to Pepsodent, the thing that they didn't really realize was when you brush your teeth, you get this tingling feeling from the mint. And it was the tingling feeling that was like the finishing move that kind of made you feel that. So if you think about that, what I would love to hear or talk about with you all is that, what is that thing, or what might be that thing for library? Like, what is that finishing thing that, that cue, routine, reward for the things that we offer? Books, databases, what is that? What kind of things do you think that might be that, that might help with building that cue, routine, reward that then you can communicate to people that maybe this is the process that you're going through, and somehow lean on the reward in a way that makes people realize? Anybody have any thoughts about that?
Well, for me, as a reader, like coming from the patron perspective, when I finish a book and I log it in my digital tracker, it's kind of like Goodreads. It's like a standalone app where I track my books. That is that reward for me, like being able to then look back at all of the books I've read this year.
Yeah.
So that sort of motivates me to then want to start a new loop and check out a new book.
That's cool. Yeah.
I don't know how, we don't, my library used to have a Goodreads account and we don't anymore. That was one that we trimmed back because it wasn't worth the amount of labor that we were putting into it. So we don't have any kind of specific app that we recommend or that we use as a group.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what that would be for other patrons other than myself.
Yeah. Is there anywhere in the app that you use? So when you log that, are you the only one that can see it?
Yes.
You are. Okay.
It's a standalone app. I don't remember what it's called. It's kind of like a social app without the social. So it's just for my own personal logging. And I really enjoy it. Let me see if I can see what it's called. It's called Reading List Pro.
Huh.
And
cool.
I don't have the pro features. I didn't pay for it. It's a free one. But it lets you track your reading and mark what you've finished, and you can even rate it with stars. You can put notes in it. You can search for books by title, by ISBN number. It displays the book cover, which is really nice. So it's like any other app minus the interaction with other people. And I just wanted something simple.
That's interesting. It's really cool. So you go back and you look at that. Do you use that to get recommendations of other books? No, you're mostly using it for logging. Yeah. That's cool. Do you know others that use that, or how did you find that app?
I think I just did a search for like log your reading kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I've been using it for a few years.
That's cool.
Yeah, that it was sort of like a backlash to the social media part of it, because like us, when you're on social media all the time for your work, I just didn't want to do it for personal at the time. So
that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So Ashley says she always thinks of the Febreze story for this book. And Kirsten, so right when you return your daughter's books, you log her titles for the 1,000 Books Club. Is that the 1,000 before kindergarten? Hey, Ashley. 1,000 before kindergarten. Very cool. How close is she? About 300. That's awesome. That is, how old is she? Oh, 3 next month. Very good. That's so cool. That's great. Yeah, I think the 1,000 books before kindergarten is a really neat one for little kids. Yeah, 10 books a week. That's great. Yeah, that's a good one. What other, yeah, anything else that anybody thinks of for, for the library? Like, what is that for those that just joined? What is that cue routine reward? What is that reward, or what is that part where, it's like the Febreze fresh scent or the Pepsodent tingling of your teeth? What is the thing that might be that reward part of the loop that people did? Like, yeah, like Leslie said, when so you kind of, that's how you finish it. You finish it and you put that in there. That's such a good habit. I really want to get into that habit myself. I try and do it in Goodreads. I can never stick with it. And I don't know, it's so good. But any other thoughts about, oh yeah, Ashley.
Oh, yeah. We just started Beanstack this year in my library. So we started with summer reading, and we got about 100 more adults signed up for summer reading than normal.
Wow, that's great.
Because I also, my system for signing people up were, you have to sign the adult, the parent up. And so I was like, well, you can just check this box and you'll sign up for adult and teen. Because before we had to send them upstairs and it was a whole thing. And now they can just click a button and be signed up.
Nice.
I was really surprised that people automatically like used it for their reading tracking, which was really fun. And now we can see people's top 12 books, and that's delightful. One like a pain point that I've noticed. So I started in patron services. I'm in communications and marketing now, but I started with a patron facing job in our digital media lab, which was more advanced technology. And that pain point of a patron coming in going, I don't know how to do this project that I need to do. And then being able to have library staff in that one-on-one, which is just vital, because it's so rare that sometimes if you're lucky, you can have friends or family that know how to do something or have access to something. But with the library, you have somebody whose job it is to know how to use this software, know how to use this. We can digitize film. We have we had one patron who came in right when we opened in 2014, and he had like thousands of slides, like Kodachrome slides. And I mean, he lived in my lab for 6 months.
Wow.
Because he was going to get through that project. So it's that reward. He'd come in, he's got, 2 to 4 hours almost every day, multiple times a week. And he got through it. It took him 6 months with multiple times a week coming in, but he got through it. And I feel like that was we did a few years ago, I think the year prior to COVID hitting. So it was either 2018 or 2019. We did a community survey. So we not only sent it out through email and outreach, but we walked to people's houses and knocked on doors and did surveys. So it was are you a library user? Are you not a library user? And then going from there. And the digital media lab, people didn't know that it was there. And it was one of the most, people were the most delighted that it was in existence. We do VHS to DVD, and that was their favorite thing. So I think it's the libraries have a unique opportunity to hit those kind of community-wide pain points where people access to certain technology is just out of bounds for people, whether it's financially, whether it's just overwhelming, whether the researcher figuring out, or whether you're just like, I just have one project that I want to do. I don't want to buy the equipment. I think that's a great place where we can hit, and then you walk away having done something, and you can walk away with something. So that's really fun.
Ashley, you just reminded me of something. We have a patron who sets up at the same computer every day in the adult sit-down computer area at one of our libraries. And she's a doctor of psychology, has a thriving practice. She's a published author. I'm sure she has a computer and a home office at home. She's super successful. But I think that her habit loop is to have, this certain place in the library and the cues of the lighting and the relative silence or white noise of a library, And I've seen her, if she comes in and someone else is sitting at her computer that she likes to use, she'll like just go do other things until she can sit down at that computer. So it's
Wow.
definitely a habit loop for her. And I never
Yeah.
thought about that as a tingle of how the library is helping her, create that routine.
Yeah. From either of those, Leslie or Ashley, is there anything you remember, anything you noticed that might be like when they, I don't know, when they like when Ashley, when the gentleman finished doing, I mean, either the whole slide thing or just the daily slides, was there anything like, was was he reviewing the stuff that he did for the day, or did he, I don't know, was there anything noticeable that you can think of that was, like, oh, yep, this, I finished this for today and now I'm going back for tomorrow, or was it just ran out of time, or
So for us, since it was a new advanced lab, we like our study rooms limited people to 2 hours, unless somebody wasn't using afterwards. So he would just stay usually like until lunch, until he
Yeah.
got hungry.
Yeah.
He would start in the morning when we opened at 10, and it was just like it was also kind of like he was retired and he was a former physics teacher in high school, I believe.
Oh
So
yeah.
like it was happiness. It was
Yeah.
cheerful. We chatted, and then at the end of almost every appointment, I tend to do this with a lot of patrons, is we made the next appointment.
There you
So
go.
you wrap up, we have a way that you save everything to your flash drive and make sure you eject your flash drive safely, and then we make the new appointment. We say we're going to see you again soon. So
That is great. And maybe that's a cool part of it, where it's, making that next appointment is the next thing. Or, um, you know, maybe with the book, it's, picking out the next book, maybe the next part of that, that kind of, there's maybe the reward is, now that you're done with this book, you have now a space to pick out the next book. So Leslie, anything that you can recall from the person, or, I'm just curious.
I don't remember any part of her routine specifically. I just remember in talking to her that she would just say, this is my happy place. This is where I can get my work done without, I know she has kids and pets and distractions at home. So for her, it just satisfied what she needed. And I'm sure she had a routine for how much time she would spend every day towards her book. And so her book has been published and is doing really well. And maybe that's the tingle for her, is like having that final product to show for her work.
Yeah, and every day she was that much closer or something. Yeah, very cool. That's pretty neat.
I think it's also like a lot of social interaction, I think, gives it, and I think post-COVID too, that feels a little bit more poignant, where people can come in and be excited about the stuff that they're excited about that maybe their family doesn't necessarily. We have so we've got a teen cosplay club now.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like maybe their parents don't quite understand, because we had a teen come in, and she really loved this specific anime, and so she had made a costume, because we tell the kids, you come in dressed up if you want to, like enjoy that, live life. And so she did, and she said, well, she's missing this one part of her costume, so she needs to make the box. So it's a character that, like, I don't know if she lives in a box or she has a box that she retreats to. And so her mom picked her up, and her mom was like, oh, you had a box. But she was so excited. So we got to be excited with her. The other teens got to be excited with her. And we have that's kind of one of our looking forward now is, we're in the middle of a renovation, so we're adding like a more easily accessible community room that is going to be kind of like glass in case, so people will see what they're doing. Like our fiber arts club, our knitters and crocheters can hang out there, things like that. And I feel like finding your community and finding people who get excited about the same stuff as you do, I feel that libraries are in a special position to help connect kind of some niche interests.
That's really neat. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a great thing to capture in photos. A great thing to capture in that is, that was kind of people finding other people in their community. And, certainly some of the other books that we've talked about have been all about that. Yeah, about finding that community and finding that niche. So, the, silencing this. The, something else that was in the book that I thought was pretty interesting and something that I would be interested to hear your thoughts about too. So there's in a later chapter of the book, so Leslie, this might be after where you got to. They talk about the song Hey Ya. So if ever know that song, the song Hey Ya by Outkast. Yeah. So there was for those who hadn't read it, so there was an algorithm, like a computer algorithm that would tell people that a song would be popular. And when they ran Hey Ya through the algorithm, it was like off the charts popular. So they had a radio station that started playing it, but people like turned the dial. They actively hated the song. They couldn't stand it because it wasn't like, so this is a little different because Ashley, it wasn't like, anything else that they had heard. And that was the thing that made it challenging. But I think, as we all know, eventually that song became very, very popular and it did become attractive. And so the technique that they used to get people to associate it with something familiar was they sandwiched it between things that were familiar. So you would have a Celine Dion song, and then you would have a Three Doors Down song, and in between you would play Hey Ya. And because people associated the things that they're already familiar with things that they liked, eventually it would just kind of bleed into the middle song, and then it made the middle song work better. And it was pretty amazing, the process they went through. It was pretty neat to see in the book. Like, they talk about the whole playlist and how they did this with, and it wasn't just that song, there were other songs, but that one in particular, because it just blew this algorithm out of the water. So does anybody have either any examples of doing this, or anybody have any ideas of how you might use this to make things, to make a difficult to understand service or a difficult to comprehend service something that people may be able to get into a little better or think a little better about?
So I did something kind of like that with becoming fine free. I shared in our, the Facebook group that we went fine free.
Yeah.
And then that really, people were really excited about that. I think that post reached 25,000 people last time I looked at it. And so that was super exciting. And then so I thought about pairing that excitement about fine free. So I did kind of a theme of, farewell signs, and then hello magazines, hello audiobooks, hello.
Oh, that was you. I saw that. I love that campaign.
Yeah, that was me. So because sometimes the posts about library resources are hit and miss. It just depends on what they are. So I thought that was kind of might be a fun way to kind of sandwich them together, kind of something new and exciting. We're fine free, and being fine free, you have access to these resources that we've had for a while, but just kind of a new, fresh way to talk about them. So the first few initial posts did really well, and then I think we're just now in a summer slump. So
yeah, it doesn't last forever. That the high, but that's great. That was a great idea to take that momentum, and that's awesome, Angie. And yeah, something we could all do when you get something that hits. See if you can find a way to take some of that momentum and attach it to some other things that maybe, because like you said, Ashley, I mean, you've got this service that is unfamiliar to people, people don't know about. So where could you insert it that that it's something that people are familiar with, whether it's a collection or, things that people seem to gravitate toward, book lists, bestseller, New York Times bestseller lists, those kind of things. So yeah. Anybody else have thoughts about sandwiching or attaching or how to ride off one thing into something else?
It's a good idea. Our Facebook page, whenever I post something that's just like a funny, stupid book related meme, it always goes crazy.
Yeah.
And then I post something about a program and it totally tanks. So I feel like, but you can't just constantly only share cute, silly memes. You have to
Right.
have a balance. So when I'm on my game, if I can plan, in advance, I'll try to plan something that I think will be really funny, followed by, the thing that I really want people to see, because I know that boosts the algorithm, in Facebook. Yep. When you have success, they think, oh, people want to see this page's content, and they'll keep directing people towards you. But I don't know, it's kind of hit or miss.
Yeah. That's a good thing. Did anybody, like this last week was the Little Mister and Little Miss books. That was a big popular one, and it would have been nice to sandwich some other stuff in there. That's a great observation, Leslie, because you're right. I mean, doing those things, and we get things that are, we had this one that was, couldn't believe how well it did, but it was, give me a second. I'd love to find it and share it. It wasn't anything incredible, but boy, it did great. It's just a picture that actually a branch staff person took, and I think it was really about the construction of the picture that did so well, and we were shocked. And it worked really well. But those things, and it's a good thing. Try and plan things and try and find things that have that reaction, and then try and get things that are something that people really like, and service that people may be unfamiliar with. So it's very cool. Oh wow, we've got a lot of posts, so I can't find it. Anyway, it was just little kids sitting in you could just see the back of their head, but they were sitting in front of a shelf reading, and it was just kind of a visually arresting photo. And there it is. And it worked really well. There, let me see if I can share this. Oh, somebody else is the host. So
can you share it in the Facebook group?
Oh, maybe I can share it in the I can share it in the Facebook group, of course. Yeah, I can share it here too. But it was just 329 likes, 11 comments, 7 shares, which for us is a lot, and a huge reach. And it was just a picture of a little kid reading a book. So great, catch the wave of those other things.
Catch the wave and then drown the wave.
Right.
Makes your algorithm go down.
Be careful before it totally tanks, and find something else that's gonna crest that next wave. And those were a couple of things from the book. The other thing I was thinking about for the reward was, I know there is some social and some maybe, over social using, but I was curious if maybe that telling, people like to tell people that they read a book. Where is that in the cue routine reward loop? So, I know that there are library websites that have something where people can post what they thought of a book. Customers can post. I know that can be super popular. That can be a really interesting way. and yeah, I mean, people do like to share things. So, different, but good, different people like to do different things. So, just be interesting. The other thing in the book that I picked out was the author says habits are often as much a curse as a benefit. And I forget which one they were talking about with that, but habits can be a curse. Habits can be something that pulls you in. I guess this was kind of like the Leslie, the quitting smoking for your mom. They can be a curse, but they can be a benefit. Anybody have any thoughts about that? This would be more to your own life, I guess, but or it could be library, but what are habits that might be beneficial or detrimental? What's, any thoughts about anything that might be beneficial, detrimental, may help, may hurt, may help the library, may hurt the library?
The thing I thought of when I read this part for me was, and this is hilarious because it's continuing to go on, although to me it feels like it happened 100 years ago, when Overdrive switched to the Libby app.
Oh, it's still going on.
And it's still going on. I was at ALA and Overdrive, their booth, they're still teaching librarians how to teach their patrons to get people, and I'm like, guys, but it's a habit thing. Like, our patrons get so used to using this one certain thing and they absolutely do not want to change. And that, I think they can be really difficult when you're trying to market the new thing. And now we're getting to the point where Overdrive's like, we're totally getting rid of the Overdrive app. You have to move. And that can cause panic. And yeah, so I think that can be detrimental.
It is. And so to that end, something that we try, and I don't know how do you all do this too? Wherever we can, I try and be like brand agnostic to things that are, branded. So, because people, we get requests from people, and Ashley, it might be interesting to hear what you have to say about this coming over from the patron side. We always get things where people are like, oh, can we have bookmarks or posters about, and this actually changed. It was lynda.com, and then it became LinkedIn Learning. So we're like, well, if we put out all these lynda.com bookmarks or the lynda.com posters, then what happens if it changes to something else? What happens if we put out all this Overdrive stuff and then it changes to Libby? What happens if, what was the other one? Recorded books. So RB Digital, what happens if they get bought by somebody else and it's not a thing anymore? So where I'm trying to go, and when we're and my department are trying to drive, is it's more about the get audiobooks, it's about the get ebooks, it's about learn the digital resources, so that you avoid something that you're talking about, Angela, like you're avoiding the hammering somebody so hard into a process that then when you change the process, they're like, well, wait a minute, you told me that this other app was so great, and now you're telling me that this new one is great, but it's the same company, it's the same collection, it's the same books. So yeah, do you all have experiences with that too?
I haven't had it yet, but I can see it coming. I was just working on my newsletter today, and it's like a back to school edition. And I was listing some of the great ways that the library can support students at every stage of learning. And I was talking about tutor.com, and then also free test prep, which traditionally we have always pointed people towards Learning Express Library. But just recently, tutor.com now has their own college prep offerings. And I'm just anticipating that this is going to be, almost like a battle of the brands. Like, how do I control that? And maybe what you're calling being brand agnostic is the way to go, to not say free tutoring from tutor.com, but just say free tutoring. And that way, it just opens the gate for future changes, which, as you just said, are, surely coming down the pike.
Yeah, and maybe it's driving people, I don't know if you use a blog or a website or something, but maybe it's driving people to, a page that, and this was the other one. We used to create pages for all these different services, but,
Yeah.
maybe it's driving people to a page that's about tutoring and test
Yes.
prep instead of
Yes.
driving them to a tutor.com page. And then the tutor.com or whatever can be there to link them. But then that way you've kind of led them with the, thinking about some other books, like what is the problem they're trying to solve? Well, they're trying to get test prep. They're trying to get teaching. They don't really care tutor.com or anything. I mean, eventually they might, but,
Right.
but yeah, pretty interesting. Yeah.
So I'm actually stealing things blatantly from Champaign Public Library. And I moved towards using handout cards. And for genealogy in particular, we're just listing things in genealogy, because what I'm thinking of doing is branding. We have library collections, so online resources are kind of the same thing. We have groups of them, so branding the library as a place to look for these things, and then you look for the specifics, because they still need to know about the specifics. They still need to know to look for Libby to download it on their phone. They still need to know, how to get help with these things, but promoting the library as the space to, when you need test prep, or when you need online books, or when you need, technology help, this is kind of the group of the things that you go for. And then we swap things out as we change them around. And when moving to LinkedIn was a nightmare, but it just was. But we also, when we see things coming down, we start kind of going, okay, on our list of online resources, I'll tuck in there with like a little alert mode dialogue, big yellow boxes, is, lynda.com will become LinkedIn Learning around, this fall, or RB Digital has been moved into this, or, getting rid of that. And I had left a note like that up on our website for about a year. And I was like, okay, it's been a year, I can take it down. And that week I had somebody going, didn't you have XYZ? I thought that you moved the magazines into there. I was like, it's been up for a year. Just have to roll with that.
Yeah, eventually you got to cut the cord and just see what happens. And but no, that's great. Yeah, that's actually, that sounds like that's a lot of what they're talking about. It's leading with the leading with the message that's going to get people to what's the thing that they need to get done. What is the, what's the cue, what's the routine, what's the reward, and leading people into that stuff. And then within the next layer, yes, then eventually they're going to have to get into the actual solution. But we're never going to get, I don't feel like we're ever going to get people that are so familiar with some of the brands that we have, especially, newer or more casual users, that it's really that important to lead with, Libby, Overdrive, Hoopla, Canopy. Like, they just want to know, like,
Exactly. It feels sometimes that we're not marketing the value of the library. We're just a venue for the products, and that doesn't feel great. Like, I feel that it's to our benefit to showcase what the library does by collecting these things first and foremost, and then going to the product, because otherwise it kind of feels like, oh, well, I can get that myself. Like, sometimes you can't, or it's really, really expensive, or if you want to pay $50 a month for this, you can, but we're paying for you right now.
No, you're totally, that's a great point, because it is like, people want to, people want to find out. So if you tell them, oh, it's this product, then they might just go out and start shopping for something else just to see. And and then they're just product shopping, and they're not really looking at you as a solution provider, as somebody, or as a guide that can help them get to the things that they need. So it's pretty cool.
So that's where I think this can probably swing back around and tie directly into the book, because and forgive me, since, as I mentioned, I'm only at page 85, so maybe they get into this, but I was thinking that the thing about both Pepsodent and Febreze that would make me want to buy them as a consumer is that psychological fear of, do I have bad breath, or is my house stinky? And so as a library, the psychological component that we offer is helping somebody solve a problem, right? It's not just about product A or product B or this material or that material. It's what someone can accomplish by using our services.
Yes.
And so that's where I think if we can, as a team or with the book, connect those dots, how do we sell that psychological benefit of the library? So like one of the things I use sometimes when I'm trying to market our weekly program newsletter is I'll say something about FOMO, like you don't want to be the one at the bus stop who didn't know about this library program, you know, that kind of thing. And so instead of saying, here's a great newsletter, you really need this in your life, it's, this newsletter is going to make you the hero at the bus stop kind of a thing.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, what's the stinky breath, smelly couch of the library? Is it not getting a good test grade on something? Is it not having a place to have that Cub Scout meeting? You know, what service, how can we bring that like psychological fear component, not fear, because that's so negative, but you know what I mean? Like, the missing link of how the library can complete something that's missing from someone's life.
Yeah. What does anybody have thoughts about that? But yeah, definitely. That's awesome. Very quiet today. So no, I think, Leslie, that's great. I think that, I mean, I think you nailed a couple of them. I mean, certainly it's the fear of missing out. And, you know, you think about a lot of people, you know, like I mean, people read because they want to read books, they want to be entertained, they want that. But I always do think that there is a bit in there about, you know, you don't want to be the one who doesn't know about the, you know, popular topics that all your friends are talking about, or you don't want to be the one that, you know, when you're having conversations with people that you don't have something interesting to say. The thing that I always thought, and I'm trying to work this into our mission, is something about being smarter. So people not only like to be smarter, but they like to feel smarter. So like even people who say like, I have a library card, like even if they don't really check anything out, it still makes them feel smarter to tell people that they have a library card. So I think there's something in there about, you know, being the one, like you said, who you don't want to be the one that doesn't know about this thing that's going on. I think there is definitely a you know, and there's some other books that I think capture this too, but there's something here about, you want people to know, you know, with the Pepsodent, it was, you want to have that white teeth. You don't want to feel that film, you know, that film is making your teeth dingy. And I think that was really powerful. It really made a big difference.
It's absolutely powerful, because now that I've got coffee breath, I'm really self-conscious on it, even though there's a Zoom call, you guys.
I know, I keep licking my teeth and feeling that film. I mean, it's super
a powerful motivator. That insecurity is a powerful motivator.
And I think it's that, you know, that it's sort of like, it's like that, you know, you don't want to be left behind, I think is a big thing. You want to be, you know, you want to be able to talk about the book that all your friends are talking about, or the book that, you know, the people that like that's, you know, you want to be able to tell people about that stuff. You know, you want to be able to be the person who says the book is better than the movie. You know, you want to be able to say that, or have that qualified, you know, knowledge that you can make that judgment. So I think there are definitely some good FOMO, or
Mhm.
there's another one. So there was another one that there's this another speaker, and they talked about it sounds funny because it's faux blow. So it's not just the fear of missing out, but the fear of being left out. So so you
Oh.
don't want to be left out of the conversation. It's not just that you're missing it, but you don't want to be the one that's, like you said, like left out. So and that is a very real fear that people feel. But it's not like fear mongering, I think, to point
Mhm.
those things out, but it's true. I
Mhm.
mean, and I think that is definitely something with some of these psychological things. And it may even be something that helps with breaking bad habits, like like smoking, or like something,
Mhm.
is being left out because you're, because you have to be outside, or you have to be,
Mhm.
somewhere. What are you missing when you're not there? um
Or what about the
so
bad habit of, like, every time you need something, just logging into Amazon Prime and buying it? Whereas,
yes,
the savvy parents know, like, what, you need that book for tomorrow? Let's go to the
yes,
library. So
yes.
that's what I want to do here, is get the people in my community. I live in a pretty affluent community,
Mhm.
and people don't necessarily need the library as much as they
Right.
might in a more urban setting. And
Mhm.
so I want them, though, to feel that smart and that they're a good
Yes,
steward of their family's money by
yes,
saving $350 a year by checking out all of our museum and park passes,
yeah,
instead of just buying all of that. Even though I'm sure many people could afford to do that if they wanted to, but there's a lot of power in feeling like you saved money, even if you might not need to as much as somebody else. So
and what is
that,
that opportunity cost of that you gave up by buying, if you bought one book on Amazon every month for a year, what would
yes,
that cost, and what's the opportunity cost for that you could have used that money for something else, and save the money by going to the library. So
yes, exactly.
yeah, I think that's really interesting.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's great. I think these are all wonderful applications of this, and getting people to look at the habits and look at how they can change habits, what's important. And then, like
Mhm.
they say, like, it's so you have cue, routine, reward. If you can find ways to keep the cue and reward there and just change the
Mhm.
routine, that's the key to the whole thing. So if you can find ways to keep what is the cue that got people to do the thing? What is the
Mhm.
reward that they got out of the thing? And then if the routine is go to Amazon versus the
Yeah.
routine is go to the library, how can you get people to make that shift and still give them the same reward that they get from going to Amazon?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's which is a trick, because Amazon makes it super convenient.
Right.
um you know
Mhm.
I
And
wish we
here you might,
delivered stuff to their doors, but we
I
don't do that
know.
yet.
Yeah, with us, they might have to put the item on hold. They might not get it right away.
Right.
Or, there might be a wait list to register for a class, or,
Yeah.
it isn't always as automatic. But I think you're onto something if we can change that routine to at least get them to think about us
Yeah.
as a potential resource. Because a lot of, I don't know if you guys hear this as much as we hear it, but we hear constantly, oh, I had no idea the library had
Yes.
XYZ, and it's like, how do you not know that, when I feel like we mention it
We
all the
scream it.
time? So,
Yeah.
what
It.
is it? 7 times? Is it 7 times to make a habit? Like, or someone has
Yes.
to hear the same information 7 times?
Yes.
I don't know.
Where they remember it. And yeah, and it's also finding that point of where they need it. Like you said, we're trying to solve a problem for that. So yeah, if
Mhm.
they don't have that problem, they may never need that service. But how can we find the times when they're thinking about that problem?
Mhm.
And then maybe that's a time where they can use that service. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
I see. There,
Yeah.
did you? Was it? I don't remember if it was in our group, if it was in like the shareable click. I don't know how to pronounce it, but um, somebody took advantage of Amazon Prime Day
Oh,
and actually made like image posts for like don't spend your money on Amazon for
Ah.
Prime Day. Here's what you can get at the library for free. And I thought that was really clever. I feel
Smart.
like having an app is really helpful.
Yeah.
So we're part of a consortium, and our consortium has an app. So
Mm.
being able to hit that on your phone and go directly to us, it's a struggle sometimes with, because gently said, many library apps are subpar.
We
Yeah,
have one
yeah,
and
yeah.
As
it's
far as ease
terrible.
of use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it needs a
So
lot of work.
it's rough. It's
Yeah.
rough. One thing that I would love to see, that I'm toying with the idea right now, is starting to, part of our strategic plan that we just put in place was more community building and reaching people where they are. And one thing that I would like to do is reach people who are commuting. So especially
Yeah.
like going to our train station and saying,
Yeah.
here, download this while you're on the train. And to that end, I don't want it just to be us. What I was going to put together is I was going to look at every library along our train route up to Chicago and put a flyer together for everyone, and just kind of have people go like, yeah, sign off. That's cool. We'll do that. And then just kind of give people the PDF to print out for their own train stations.
Nice.
I think more, because it's hard
Mhm.
sometimes to advertise in bigger spaces because
Yeah.
of the way that library districts and city libraries, et cetera, work. Whereas if we can kind of hold hands a little bit more, that would be great.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that idea. And Ashley, I don't know if your library is part of the Urban Library Council. No. Okay. There's a listserv for that has there's been some people batting around transit system partnerships and things to help getting that on there. I'll see if I can share it out with the group in some way if there's anything interesting there, but great. Well, thanks everybody. I know we're right at the end of time. Oh, excuse me one second. Sorry, just clear my throat. But so next month, Unmarketing by Scott Stratton, and Scott Stratton himself will be here, which is awesome, which is crazy that we get these best-selling authors that just come here for free. It's super cool. So before we go, Angie Rhines, if you would pick a number between 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 and 6. And then that person will get a free copy of Unmarketing. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kirsten Weaver. So Kirsten. Yay.
Congrats.
All right. So Kirsten, free copy of Unmarketing by Scott Stratton. So I'll get with you on that. And next month, well, actually this month, it'll be the 23rd, I think. Oh no, Kelly. Kelly, we're wrapping up. Sorry, it must be time difference.
Oh, I messed up the time difference.
No,
My bad.
I'm sorry.
That's
It's
okay.
nice to see you.
You too.
But you can watch the recording. But yeah, so next month, April, I think it's August 23rd. It'll be back on Tuesday at 3:00. And yes, author Scott Stratton will be here. So please come. Hopefully we can have a great showing for this great author. And thanks so much. I'll be sending out a feedback survey to y'all. So if you can fill that out, that would be great. And I look forward to talking with you on social and everything during the month. And I'll see you in a few weeks. Bye.
Bye.